This beautiful grass that I've got here is called Cymbopogon, and there are various species of it, commonly known as lemongrass, which is used in cooking in Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, and it gives the most beautiful flavor to those dishes, a lovely, clean, lemony sort of flavor. So what I want to do today is just show you how to propagate it. This plant here I propagated about 4 months ago, and this is the size it's got to. Now I like to grow them in full sun for part of the day and sort of dappled shade for about a quarter of the day, because I find if they grow in, they're capable of growing in full sun, but if you put them in full sun they sometimes get a bit stressed, and then the stems are a little bit tough and a little bit dry. So that's why I do it that way, and then give them plenty of water. They're tropical, so they don't like frost, so you'd have to watch out for that. And then you can reap them whenever you want to. Now I'll just show you how to reap them, and at the same time show you how the best way to propagate them, and then I'm going to show you another way of propagation as well, which I've worked out. So this is how we go. We just get a knife and you find a nice stem and you cut it just below the soil level like that. Just get right down in there. There we go. And there I've managed to get one root on this, but it doesn't really matter. You still get a good success rate even with just that one root. Sometimes you can cut a few more roots. And then you just take that, get your potting soil. I like a mixture of potting soil and a bit of normal garden soil. That seems to go well. And put it in there. Try not to bend the root too much. And then squeeze it in. Give it a nice bit of depth there so that it holds firm. And there we go. That's the best way to propagate. And then after a few months it'll start branching like this. Now this plant grows in clumps. It doesn't run like some of the grasses. And it's perennial, so each as the season goes on you'll get more and more clumps of grass growing on the side, much like that one over there, and then you can start reaping from the outside and using those stems. So just put that aside, and I want to show you this particular one. I didn't have a mother plant to get a cutting from, so I went to the supermarket. And I'll just show you what I do. You go in the supermarket into the fresh herb section and you choose some lemongrass that's got a little stem on it, a little bit of stem at the bottom there. See, there's a bit of root. So there's a bit of the root just there. And then if you look carefully, you'll see that little triangle there. That's a bud where normally you would get another stem coming from in the clumping process, but if you bury that bud then you'll get roots coming out of there. But what I normally do, I don't just bury it straight away, so I'll get these two. Those won't work, but these two have got a little bit of root there, and if you can find one with a tiny bit of root on it, you're better off still. So then you just get some water, and you can, if you like, you can put a little bit of growth hormone in the water, and you put that in there like that, and you leave it probably about 3 weeks. It must be quite warm, and you'll see these stems will start swelling, and then eventually you'll see new blades of grass coming out of this area here, and then eventually you'll get some roots. And when you see the roots, then what you do is just take them and do what I did here and put them in a pot. And that's how I grew this one, right from the supermarket. So that's a little trick you can use, and it works pretty well. So we'll leave this. I'll follow this up with another video. So we'll leave this, and when there's some roots, I'll show you some more pictures of it and how we just pot it at that stage. And then one thing I just wanted to say, you notice there that I used a cut-off water bottle to strike in, because I like to reuse the plastic that we're using. And then please don't chuck this in the landfill. Put it in a recycling bin somewhere, so that it doesn't end up in the environment. day in the Flinders Ranges. Now, here are the two cuttings that I got from the supermarket, and I've had them in water now for about 2 weeks, and you can see they've sprouted beautifully. And if I take this one out, look at that beautiful set of roots there. I'll just hold it there for a moment so you can see. Now, the problem is these roots are very brittle, very easy to break them. Now, normally what you would do is just plonk them in a pot with some potting soil and hope for the best, and then press them down with your hands. But when you do that, most likely you're going to break one or two of those roots off. So I'm going to show you a technique that I've used quite successfully to put no pressure on the roots at all when you're repotting them. Now what I do, first of all, I get a metal stake and I put it next to the pot I'm going to use, like that, and then I make a mark about 20 millimeters below the level of the pot, because that's where I want my soil to come to. If I take this guy now and I put him, that's where I want the soil level to be, and I make a mark where the bottom of his roots are, so that's about there. Okay, so that's my first soil level that I'm going to head for. So we'll just put it here so we don't mess. And this mixture that I've got here is 40% garden soil and 60% potting mixture. I always like to have a bit of garden soil in case you want to plant them out, and also it retains the moisture a lot better. So I'm just going to put that in there and then vaguely just get it to that level. It doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. So that would be about there. Okay, next step is to just water that down, because one of the things you've got to watch out for is that those roots don't dry out, and the soil being quite dry, it's a bit like blotting paper, so it'll suck the moisture away from the roots. So we just let that settle in for a moment. Then what I do, I get a bit of double-sided tape, cut a sliver off, and put the bottom of the double-sided tape at the level that you want your soil to come to. Just stick it on like that, and then I use that to secure my cutting to this rod so that it doesn't go floating around. And remember, that line is my soil level. I want it to go about there, so I'll just do that. Then we'll put it in. There we are. Then we take the soil now and just gently flow it around the roots. So we're not putting any pressure. We're just gently flowing it around the roots. When you get to the level that you think is correct, just give it a little tap or two, let it settle in. And don't do any pressing. Just let the soil settle by itself. And then you water it down, and that should settle around the roots without damaging those roots at all. But just make sure you water it straight away, because you don't want those roots to dry out. And then I'll just show you the other one. The other one didn't get that much roots, but I could still plant it at this stage, which I probably will do. You can see those two little roots there, but it's fine, it'll do fine. And then I also wanted to show you, this is the pot that I planted the offcut, or the one that I reaped from the mother plant, and I put it in there. I've just nipped the leaves off, but it's still green. It hasn't done as much sprouting as this, so I suspect this is a better method than putting it straight into the soil. Even though this soil's been watered every day, it hasn't done much sprouting like these that were in the water, so this seems to be the best method. Now, if you found this useful, please like and share this video, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. You may notice that we're in Australia with all these flies around. Thanks for watching.